Hello and welcome to the video for today. We're going to do an Edpuzzle video and we are talking about the Appendix 6 and this is our day 2. So the two main things we're going to be talking about are going from point slope to slope-intercept form and then writing an equation of a line parallel to a line through a given point. All right, let's begin. So we're going to review a couple questions here first. So find the x and y intercept and then graph. All right, finding the x and y intercept. Remember, when we're going to find the y-intercept, the x value is what? The x value is 0. Okay, so we are going to put in place of this is supposed to be a y, so let me just make that a y. So in place of x, we are going to put a 0, and then we are going to solve for y. So we're going to cancel that out, and we're going to divide both sides by a -2. So the y-intercept is going to be 10. So go to our y-axis, and where the y-axis is 10, put a dot. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing for the x-intercept, but this time when you're looking for the x-intercept, the y value is 0. So what is the x-intercept going to be? So 5x equals -20. See how we only have the x value in here? When you're looking for the x-intercept, we basically cross off this, and now we're going to divide both sides by 5. And x is going to be equal to a -4. So go to your x-axis and go 1, 2, 3, 4. And on your x-axis, we have a -4. And now we're going to connect these two. All right, I know the question doesn't ask this, but what is this slope? Is this slope a positive slant or a negative slant? And yep, this is a positive slant because we're going up and to the right. Up and to the right. Okay? All right, next question. So we're going to write an equation in point slope form. Given the slope is -5 and it goes through the point -3, 8. Okay, so there's a couple different ways you guys can go about writing this. So you can just fill in y minus a blank equals blank and x minus a blank. Now some of you might be able to just go right to it and write in here y, and because we see a +8, this is a +8, we're going to write -8 equals, and now the slope goes into this next place. So what number is going to go in the next place is going to be a -5. And then x, is it going to be a +3 or a -3? And because we see a -3, we are going to put in a +3. So if we're filling this in, look for the y value. Y value is 8, so see how that says y minus 8. That's the same thing we have over here, y minus 8. Okay, they tell us slope is -5, so we put in a -5, same thing that we have over here. And then, last but not least, this is your x value. So we're putting in a -3. Now remember, mathematicians do not like minus a negative. So that turns in to an x plus 3. And look, that's what we have here on the end, is x plus 3. All right, the next thing that we're going to review or go over is the distributive property. So remember, we have to take -5 times 6, and we get a -30, and -5 times phi w to get a -25w. All right, in the next one, when we do the distributive property and we multiply these two together, what do we get? We get a 21x. And then what do we get when we do the second part and we multiply these two together? We get a positive 12 because a negative 3 times a negative 4 is a positive 12. All right, write an equation in point-slope form, then convert to slope-intercept form to find the y-intercept. So make sure that we come back and we find out what is the y-intercept. We have to make sure that we come in and answer that question at the end. All right, we're given a point and the slope. So we're going to have y. Is it going to be plus 2, minus 2, plus 7, minus 7, or 3? What is going to go in this first blank? And we're going to put a plus 7. Okay, what number are we going to write next? 2, negative 7, or 3? Well, the slope goes next, so we put in a 3. And then we have the x. So what's going to go in after the x? And it's going to be a negative 2. All right, so there's our point-slope form. Now we're going to do what we were just practicing, and we're going to do the distributive property. Okay, so we're going to get y plus 7. Now distribute. 3 times x is 3x. And then what number are we going to write at the end? 3 times negative 2 is a negative 6. All right, and then the next thing we always need to do is either add or subtract the number by y. Okay, and we always do the opposite operation. And because that says a plus 7, what are we going to do? We're going to subtract 7. Now make sure you put it under its like term. So am I going to write it underneath the 3x or the number negative 6? I'm going to subtract 7. So here these are going to cancel out. So I have y equals 3x. And negative 6 minus 7 is a negative 13. All right, the final question they want us to answer is, what is the y-intercept? The y-intercept is a negative 13. We just pull it right off from this equation in y-intercept form, and we can read that off that it is a negative 13. All right, write an equation in point-slope form, then convert. So we're going to do exactly the same thing. Remember to come back and that you answer that question. What is the y-intercept? So when we write this in point-slope form, it's going to be y, what? Minus 8, minus 4, plus 8, or 1/2. So this is going to be a plus 4. Then our slope is 1/2. And x, and what number do we write next? And we write a plus 8. So there's our point-slope form. Now I'm going to put it in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to distribute first, and 1/2 times x is 1/2 x. Now, what's 1/2 times 8? And we get a plus 4. So now what we're going to have to do here is subtract 4. Make sure you put under its like term. So we have y equals 1/2 x. And what is plus 4 minus 4? It is just a big fat 0. So if you want, you can certainly write a plus 0, but you don't need to. So we get 1/2, or y equals 1/2 x. Either equation would be totally fine. Now, what is the y-intercept? The y-intercept is 0, which means this is going through the origin. So, is this equation proportional or non-proportional? Okay, and this one is proportional because it's going through the origin. All right, 2 problems left. So write an equation of a line in slope-intercept form. that's parallel through this equation through. Okay, so I'm going to first of all write my equation in point slope. So point slope is going to be y. Now, what number am I going to use? The 4, the 9, the -2, or the 7? I'm going to use the 7. And because that says 7, I'm going to write a -7. Okay, now I need to put the slope in. So what's going to go in here for slope? So slope, where am I going to get the slope? Oh, the slope comes from the equation. What is the slope of this equation? The slope is 4. And what do we know about parallel lines? Parallel lines have the same slope. So if the slope of this line is 4, what's going to be the slope of our new line? It is also going to be 4. And now let's finish in the rest of the equation. X, and our x value right here is a -2. And because this is a -2, I'm going to write a +2. All right, now this is an equation in point slope, but if you go back and read the directions, they want it in slope intercept form. So we can do that by first distributing. Okay, so when we distribute here, we get 4 times x is 4x. And now what number is going to go after that? And we're going to go 4 times 2 and get 8. Okay, then the next thing we always do is either add or subtract whatever number is by the y. And because that says -7, we have to do the opposite operation, so I go +7. Now I'd put the +7 under the 4x or the 8. And it goes under its like term, 8. So we have y equals 4x plus 15. All right, they don't ask it here, but what is the y-intercept of this equation? This y-intercept is 15. All right, last question. Write the equation of a line in slope-intercept form that's parallel and through the point. Okay, I am going to start by putting this in point slope. So to put this in point slope, it's going to be y what? Y, because that says +5, I'm going to write -5. Okay, now the next thing I need is slope. Where do I get the slope? I get the slope from this equation. So what is the slope of this equation? The slope is 1/3. And what do we know about parallel lines? Parallel lines have the same slope. So if that slope's 1/3, then I'm going to put 1/3 in here. And then x, my x value is 12, so I'm going to write -12. Okay, now that's point slope, but they want it in slope-intercept form. So the next thing I'm going to do is distribute. So y -5 equals the 1/3 times x. Now what number am I going to write next? You need to take 1/3 times -12. So what do we get? We get a -4. Okay, and now we need to move that 5. So because that says subtract 5, I'm going to do the opposite. So I'm going to add 5. Add 5. So I get y equals 1/3 x. Now what's -4 plus 5? Is a +1. All right, in this final equation, what is our slope? Slope is 1/3. And what is the y-intercept? The y-intercept is 1. All right, that should be the end of it. Good luck on the rest of your homework.